We're going to switch gears now. According to One Black Leadership Network, illegal immigrants should be prohibited from accessing all but emergency public services because of the cost these services unfairly and disproportionately falls on Black families. Joining me now is our next guest, Horace Cooper, Senior Fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research. Horace, thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the program.
All right. So how has the influx of millions of illegal immigrants put a strain on Black communities?
Well, the problem comes from this, that we don't have any kind of real serious effort to prevent people who come to the United States from doing so illegally. And we also have in a number of jurisdictions, primarily our large cities, programs that are specifically available for illegal immigrants to have access to. In the United States, we have a progressive income tax system for all federal programs. There are limitations on the use of federal dollars for illegal immigrants except in emergencies. But those limitations do not apply to state and local governments. Even states with income taxes, they primarily raise the funds that they get from sales taxes, excise taxes, lottery ticket sales, and property taxes. And it is those taxes that are a lot more regressive than our progressive income tax system. I'm not favoring one over the other. I'm simply observing that in most states, the people who use the benefits are being taxed to pay for the benefits, except when it comes to illegal immigrants. They get to have the benefits without necessarily being responsible to pay for it. In New York, for instance, you can get into the Medicaid program. You get pregnancy treatment. You can have all manner of assistance with education, language services, even special programs to help you go to college, not as a person who doesn't know the language well, but as a person who shouldn't lawfully be in the United States. Those costs are borne by the people who are citizens in the community who pay for this, and they not only have to pay for it, they now have to compete with these people to use these programs. And here's the irony, because many of them don't play fairly. They don't have to pay Social Security. They don't have to pay Medicare. They don't have to pay any of the protocols, even minimum wage. They underbid citizens and displace them in the workplace. It's all around a bad deal. And Black Americans are disproportionately found to be in working class than they are in upper class.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see, Horace, the left and the reaction to this. We see them trying to appeal to a sense of morality that they've destroyed, quite frankly. And it's almost as if the left no longer cares about, or maybe they never did, about Black babies. But yet when it comes to illegal babies and their children, it's almost as if we have to drop everything we're doing in our own country and help them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways is a huge social media, mainstream media blast has occurred on the idea that some 2,000 children are being separated, are kept separated from their parents who have violated the law when they came to the United States. And yet, nothing, not a whimper for the several 100,000 Black and minority or any American families who also have been separated from their children when they are found to be in violation. You just try driving on the New Jersey Turnpike 30 miles over the speed limit. The officer, when they stop you, and they see your child in the back seat, they don't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize you had a child in your back seat. It's okay. Keep on. Try to drive more carefully." They will pull you out and take your child to Child Protective Services while you get processed for reckless driving. This happens all the time, and no one on the left, no progressives have written editorials, no New York Times, because we get it. If you are breaking the law and you happen to have your child in tow, we're angrier at you. We actually don't give you a break over that. We're actually angrier at you. This shows their complete and total hypocrisy.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely curious how effective the argument is, Horace, that, oh my gosh, a child's crying, open our borders. I mean, I think any parent out there, you don't even have to be a parent. I mean, children cry, whether or not you separate them from a parent or not. I just don't know how effective that is. And I want to get your thoughts on a slightly different topic. What's your sense from those? I just don't know how effective that is. And I want to get your thoughts on a slightly different topic. What's your sense from those in Black communities? Are they starting to become disillusioned with the left and their so-called care for minority communities and whatnot? Are they starting to see that this doesn't really add up, the message from the left?
So let me answer two of your questions. One is, if you love your children, if you really care for your kids, don't put them in dangerous situations voluntarily. There are ways, if people genuinely find themselves in dangerous situations and they believe that their country is going to harm them, to apply for asylum that don't involve risking and danger to your child. That's number one. If you love your children, don't put them in danger. Number two, one of the reasons why we're putting out this report is that we want Black America to see what a raw deal that they are getting from so many of the progressive leaders that pretend to love Black America so. Of the $113 billion that is spent every year for illegals to get the services that they lawfully shouldn't get, except for the fact that they've broken the law to get here, $83 billion of that is paid by state and local governments, and 60 of that is coming out at our largest 10 metropolitan communities, and those communities are overwhelmingly made up of minorities. They may not even have a majority minority population, but they are well over their 13% representation. We're talking 40% of the population. And Black America is seeing that when the public school system is inundated with too many people sitting in the class, a third of whom may not even be lawful residents, it's their children, it's Black America's children who are not able to get the benefit. If you're worried about your health systems in local communities being overwhelmed and your child gets sick and you've been promised that your child is going to get quality care, you show up at the clinic and what do you see? Overwhelmingly a large number of people who are not supposed to be citizens, and you aren't even allowed to complain. We're hopeful that as Black Americans individually observe this situation, that the awareness settles in, because we've watched since the 1960s, liberals haven't actually improved the lot of Black American life. And we're wanting people to understand that it isn't working, it hasn't worked, and it can't work. Our hope and our expectation is, and we've seen some signs, that Black America is waking up to the idea that they are never been favored by the left, they're never been preferred by the left, and they've never been helped by the left.
Horace Cooper, Thank you so much for calling in. Always really great thoughts, great insight from you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.